Hello and welcome back to my channel. And today we're going to start the chapter on struggle for empire in North India, circa 1400 to 1525. The growing weakness of the Delhi Sultanate and the attack of Timur on Delhi in 1398, followed by the fight of the Tughlaq king from his capital, emboldened a number of provincial governors and the autonomous rulers to declare their independence. Apart from the Deccan states, Bengal in the east and Sindh and Multan in the west were among the first to break away from Delhi. Soon, the governors of Gujarat, Malwa, and Jaunpur in eastern Uttar Pradesh also declared themselves independent. With the expulsion of the Mughal governor from Ajmer, the various states of Rajputana asserted their independence. Gradually, a definite pattern of balance of power emerged between the states belonging to the various regions. In the west, Gujarat, Malwa, and Mewar balanced and checked the growth of each other's power. Bengal was checked by the Gajapati rulers of Odisha as well as by Jaunpur. The rise of the power of the Lodhis in Delhi from about the middle of the 15th century resulted in a long drawn out tussle between them and the rulers of Jaunpur for the mastery of the Ganga Yamuna Valley. The situation began to change with the absorption of Jaunpur by the Lodhis towards the end of the 15th century. Following this victory, the Lodhis began to expand their power in eastern Rajasthan and Malwa. Malwa started disintegrating at this time due to internal factors, thereby sharpening the rivalry between Gujarat, Mewar, and Lodhis. It appeared that the victor in this context would dominate the entire North India. Thus, the struggle for domination of Malwa was the cockpit for the struggle for the mastery of North India. So, different factors were different regions and states merged together and were fighting for the mastery over Malwa. And it was said that the one who captures Malwa, or the one who just asserted his dominance over it, would be the one who would actually rule Delhi or actually rule the North India. The domination of Malwa was the cockpit for the struggle for the mastery of North India. It was this heightened rivalry which perhaps prompted Rana Sanga to invite Babur in the hope that the destruction of the power of the Lodhis would leave Mewar as the strongest power in the field. So the competing powers were Gujarat, Mewar, Lodhis. Eastern India, Bengal, Assam, and Orissa. As we've seen above, Bengal had frequently become independent of the control of Delhi due to its distance, climate, and the fact that much of its communication depended upon waterways with which the Turkish rulers were unfamiliar. Due to the preoccupation of Muhammad Tughlaq with rebellions in various quarters, Bengal again broke away from Delhi in 1338. 4 years later, one of the nobles, Ilyas Khan, captured Lakhnauti and Sunargaon and ascended the throne under the title Sultan Shamsuddin Ilyas Khan. He extended his dominions in the west from Tirhut to Champaran and Gorakhpur and finally up to Banaras. This forced Firuz Tughlaq to undertake a campaign against him. Marching through Champaran and Gorakhpur, the territories newly acquired by Ilyas, Firuz Tughlaq occupied the Bengali capital Pandua and forced Ilyas to seek shelter in the strong fort of Yekdala. After a siege of 2 months, Firuz tempted Ilyas out of the fort by feigning flight. The Bengali forces were defeated, but Ilyas once again retreated into Ekdala. Finally, a treaty of friendship was concluded by which the river Kosi in Bihar was fixed as the boundary between the two kingdoms of Firuz Tughlaq and that of Sultan Shamsuddin Ilyas Khan. Though Ilyas exchanged regular gifts with Firuz, he was in no way subordinate to him. Friendly relations with Delhi enabled Ilyas to extend his control over the kingdom of Kamrup, which is in modern Assam. Ilyas Shah was a popular ruler and had many achievements to his credit. When Firuz was at Pandua, he tried to win over the inhabitants of the city to his side by giving liberal grants of land to the nobles, the clergy, and other deserving people. His attempts failed. the popularity of Ilyas might have been one of the reasons for the failure of Firuz against him. So there was a ruler, Ilyas Khan, who actually captured Lakhnauti and Sonargaon uh, after subsequent rebellions uh, in Bengal, and he undertook the throne under the title name Sultan Shamsuddin Ilyas Khan. There was frequent clashes within the seat of Delhi and his kingdom. So Firuz Tughlaq basically had a fight with him, and after subsequent struggles, both of them came to a conclusion that the river Kosi in Bihar would be the boundary between the two kingdoms, and they shared friendly relations. Did no, Ilyas was in no way subordinate to Firuz, and also Ilyas was a very popular ruler. Firuz Tughlaq invaded Bengal a second time when Ilyas died. His son Sikandar succeeded to the throne. Sikandar followed the tactics of his father and retreated to Ekdala. Firuz failed once again to capture it and had to beat a retreat. After this, Bengal was left alone for about 200 years and was not invaded again till after the Mughals had established their power at Delhi. It was overrun by Sher Shah in 1538. During this period, a number of dynasties flourished in Bengal. The frequent changes of dynasties did not, however, disturb the even tenor of the lives of the common people. The most famous sultan in the dynasty of Ilyas Shah was Ghiyasuddin Azam Shah from 1389 to 1409. He was known for his love of justice. It is said that he once accidentally killed the son of a widow who complained to the Qazi. The Sultan, when summoned to the courts, humbly appeared and paid the fine imposed by the Qazi. At the end of the trial, Sultan told the Qazi that if he had failed to do his duty, he would have had him beheaded. Azam Shah had close relations with the famous learned men of his times, including the famous Persian poet Hafiz of Shiraz. He re-established friendly relations with the Chinese. The Chinese emperor received his envoy cordially and in 1409 sent his own envoy with presents to the Sultan and his wife and a request to send Buddhist monks to China. This was accordingly done. Incidentally, this shows that Buddhism had not died completely in Bengal till then. The revival of the contact with China helped in the growth of the overseas trade of Bengal. The Chittagong port became a flourishing port for trade with China and for the re-export of Chinese goods to other parts of the world. During this period, there was a brief spell of Hindu rule under Raja Ganesh. However, his sons preferred to rule as Muslims. The sultans of Bengal adorned their capitals Pandua and Gaur with magnificent buildings. These had a style of their own, distinct from the style which had developed in Delhi. The materials used were both stone and brick. The sultans also patronized the Bengali language. The celebrated poet Maladhar Basu, compiler of Sri Krishna Vijaya, was patronized by the sultans and was granted the title of Kunarja Khan. His son was honored with the title of Satya Raja Khan, but the most significant period for the growth of the Bengali language was the rule of Alauddin Hussain from 1493 to 1519. Some of the famous Bengali writers of the time flourished under his rule. So, this paragraph is of utmost importance to us because it has some literary works, their writers, and patronization written in it. So, the Bengali language was patronized by the rulers of Bengal, and the celebrated poet was Maladhar Basu, who compiled Sri Krishna Vijaya, and his son was given the title of Punarja Raja by the sultans, and his son was given the title of Satya Raja Khan. The next ruler whose period was a significant one for the growth of Bengali was the rule of Alauddin Hussain. A brilliant period began under the enlightened rule of Alauddin Hussain. The Sultan restored law and order and adopted a liberal policy by offering high offices to the Hindus. Thus, his wazir was a talented Hindu. The chief physician, the chief of bodyguard, the master of the mint were also Hindus. The two famous brothers who were celebrated as pious Vaishnavas, Rupa and Sanatan, held high posts, one of them being the Sultan's private secretary. So this was during the rule of Alauddin Hussain in Bengal. The Sultan is also said to have shown great respect to the famous Vaishnavite Saint Chaitanya. Since the time of the Muhammad bin Bakhtiar Khilji, the Muslim rulers of Bengal had tried to bring the Brahmaputra valley in modern Assam under their control, but had to suffer a series of disastrous defeats in this region, which was little known to them. The independent sultans of Bengal tried to follow in the footsteps of their predecessors. There were two warring kingdoms in North Bengal and Assam at that time. Kamata, called Kamrup by the writers of the time, was in the west, and Ahom kingdom in the east. The Ahoms, a Mongoloid tribe from North Burma, had succeeded in establishing a powerful kingdom in the 13th century and had become Hinduized in the course of time. The name Assam is derived from them. Ilyas Khan invaded Kamata and it seems penetrated up to Guwahati. However, he could not hold the area, and the river Karatoya was accepted as the northeast boundary of Bengal. Rendering raids into Kamata by some of the successors of Ilyas Shah did not change the situation. The rulers of Kamata were gradually able to recover many of the areas on the eastern bank of the Karatoya. They also fought against the Ahoms. By alienating both their neighbors, they sealed their doom. An attack by Alauddin Hussain Shah, which was supported by the Ahoms, led to the destruction of the city of Kamtapur in modern Kuch Bihar and the annexation of the kingdom to Bengal. The Sultan appointed one of his sons as the governor of the area. A colony of Afghans was planted in the area. A subsequent attack on the Ahom kingdom, probably by Nusrat Shah, the son of Alauddin Hussain, was unsuccessful and was repulsed with considerable losses. The eastern Brahmaputra valley was at that time under Suhung Mung, who is considered the greatest of the Ahom rulers. He changed his name to Swarg Narayan. This was an index of the rapid Hinduization of the Ahoms. These were a Mongoloid tribe, but in due course of time, they turned as Hindus. He not only repulsed the Muslim attack but also extended his kingdom in all directions. The Vaishnavite reformer Shankaradev belonged to his time and played an important role in the spread of Vaishnavism in the area. The Sultans of Bengal also tried to bring Chittagong and a part of Arakan under their control. Sultan Hussain Shah not only wrested Chittagong from the Arakan king but also conquered Tepera from its ruler. The rulers of Bengal had also to contend with Odisha. During the period of Sultanate rule over Bengal, the Ganga rulers of Odisha had aided Radha, South Bengal, and even made an attempt at the conquest of Lucknowty. These attacks had been reversed by the rulers of Odisha were powerful enough not to allow the governor of Bengal to penetrate into Odisha. It was the rulers of the Ganga dynasty who built the famous Puri temple and the Sun temple in Konark. So Ganga dynasty becomes important for us because it was the one who built the famous Jagannath Puri temple and the Sun temple at Konark. It was only after 1338 that the independent ruler of Bengal, Ilyas Shah, raided Jajnagar in Odisha. It is said that overcoming all opposition, he advanced up to Chilika Lake and returned with a rich booty, including a number of elephants. A couple of years later, in 1360, while returning from his Bengal campaign, Firoz Tughlaq also raided Odisha. He occupied the capital city, massacred a large number of people, and desecrated the Jagannath temple of Puri. So they, so in all of these raids, you could see that they were taking a large chunk of the defeated city's treasures with them, and basically most of the treasures were within the temples, so they demolished and desecrated it. These two raids destroyed the prestige of the Ganga dynasty. In due course, a new dynasty called the Gajapati dynasty came to the fore. The Gajapati rulers made a brilliant marks a brilliant phase in Orissa history. The rulers were great builders and warriors. The Gajapati rulers were mainly instrumental in extending their rule in the south towards Karnataka. As we've seen, this brought them into conflict with Vijayanagar, the Reddys, and the Pahamani sultans. Perhaps one reason why the Gajapati rulers preferred aggrandizement in the south was their feeling that the sultans of Bengal were too strong to be easily dislodged from Bengal-Orissa border. But the Orissa rulers could not hold on to the southern conquest for any length of time due to the power and capabilities of the Vijayanagar and the Pahamani rulers. In Bengal, the Orissa frontier at this time was the river Saraswati, which then carried much of the waters of the Ganga. Thus, a large part of Midnapur district and part of the Hooghly district were included in the Orissa territories. There is some evidence that the Orissa rulers tried to extend their control up to Bhagirathi but were compelled to retreat. Some of the sultans of Bengal, including Alauddin Hussain Shah, made raids into Orissa which extended up to Puri and Cuttack. Intermittent fighting also went on the frontier. However, the rulers of Bengal were not able to dislodge the Orissan rulers from their frontiers or to gain any territory beyond the river Saraswati. The Orissan rulers were able to engage successfully in battles at the same time in such far-flung areas as Bengal and Karnataka, testifies their strength and prowess. So, two major dynasties we have studied over here from Orissa are the Ganga dynasty and the Gajapati rulers. The Ganga dynasty are the ones who built the Sun Temple and the Jagannath Puri Temple. However, the Gajapati rulers were instrumental in marking a significant period for Orissa because they were trying to extend and expand their rule from Orissa to south of Karnataka as well as in the Bengal borders. So they had war going on in two of their frontiers and they were quite able in it. Western India, Gujarat, Malwa, and Mewar. On account of the excellence of its handicrafts and its flourishing seaports, as well as the richness of its soil, Gujarat was one of the richest provinces of the Delhi Sultanate. Under Firoz Tughlaq, Gujarat had benign governor who, according to Ferishta, encouraged the Hindu religion and thus promoted rather than suppressed the worship of idol. He was succeeded by Zafar Khan, whose father Sadharan was a Rajput who had converted to Islam and given his sister in marriage to Firoz Tughlaq. After Timur's invasion of Delhi, both Gujarat and Malwa became independent in all but name. However, it was not until 1407 that Zafar Khan formally proclaimed himself the ruler and the title Muzaffar Shah. The real founder of the Kingdom of Gujarat was, however, Ahmad Shah I in 1411 to 43, the grandson of Muzaffar Shah. During his long reign, he brought the nobility under control, settled the administration, expanded and consolidated the kingdom. He shifted the capital from Patan to the new city of Ahmedabad, the foundation of which he laid in 1413. He was a great builder and beautified the town with many magnificent palaces and bazaars, mosques, and madrasas. He drew on the rich architectural traditions of the Jains of Gujarat to devise a style of building which was markedly different from Delhi. Some of its features are slender turrets, exquisite stone carving, and high ornate brackets. Jama Masjid in Ahmedabad and the Teen Darwaza are fine examples of the style of architecture during his time. So, this is during Ahmad Shah I's time that the Jama Masjid in Ahmedabad and the Teen Darwaza were built, uh, and it resonated with his architectural style, which was different from Delhi. Ahmad Shah tried to extend his control over the Rajput states in the Saurashtra region, as well as those located on the Gujarat Rajasthan border. In Saurashtra, he defeated and captured the strong fort of Girnar but restored it to the Raja on his promise to pay tribute. He then attacked Sidhpur, the famous Hindu pilgrim center, and leveled to the ground many of the beautiful temples there. He imposed jizya on the Hindus in Gujarat, which had not been imposed on them earlier. All these have led many medieval historians to hail Ahmad Shah as a great enemy of the infidels, while many modern historians have called him a bigot. The truth, however, appears to be more complex. While Ahmad Shah acted as a bigot in ordering the destruction of Hindu temples, he did not hesitate to induct Hindus in his government. Manik Chand and Moti Chand, belonging to the Baniya or trader community, were ministers under him. He was so strict in his justice that he had his own son in law executed in the marketplace for a murder he had committed. Although he fought the Hindu rulers, he fought no less the Muslim rulers of the time, particularly the Muslim rulers of Malwa. He subordinated the powerful fort of Idar and brought the Rajput states of Jhalawar, Bundi, Dungarpur, etc. under his control. From the beginning, the kingdom of Gujarat and Malwa were bitter rivals and were generally found in opposite camps on almost every occasion. Muzaffar Shah had defeated and imprisoned Husang Shah, the ruler of Malwa. Finding it difficult to control Marwa, he had, however, released Husang Shah after a few years and reinstated him. Far from healing the breach, it had made the ruler of Marwa even more apprehensive of Gujarat power. They were always on the lookout for weakening Gujarat by giving help and encouragement to disaffected elements there, be the be the rebel nobles or Hindu rajas at war with Gujarat ruler. The rulers of Gujarat tried to counter this by trying to install their own nominee on the throne of Malabar. This bitter rivalry weakened the two kingdoms and made it impossible for them to play a larger role in the politics of North India. Mahmud Begarha, the successor of Ahmad Shah, continued his policy of expansion and consolidation. The most famous Sultan of Gujarat was Mahmud Begarha. Mahmud Begarha ruled over Gujarat for more than 50 years, from 1549 to 1511. He was called Begarha because he captured two of the most powerful forts, Garhs, Girnar in Saurashtra, now called Junagadh, and Champaner in South Gujarat. The ruler of Girnar tribute had paid tribute regularly, but Mahmud Begarha decided to annex his kingdom as a part of his policy of bringing Saurashtra under full control. Saurashtra was a rich and prosperous region and had many fertile tracts and flourishing ports. Unfortunately, the Saurashtra region was also infested by robbers and sea pirates who preyed on trade and shipping. The powerful fort of Girnar was considered suitable not only for administrating Saurashtra but also as the base for operations against Sindh. Mahmud Begharha besieged Girnar with a large force. Though the Raja had only a few guns in the fort, he resisted gallantly, but to no avail. It is said that the conquest of this inaccessible fort was due to treason. The ruler of Girnar had forcibly taken the wife of his Kamdar, minister agent, who schemed in secret for the downfall of his master. After the fall of the fort, the Raja embraced Islam and was enrolled in the services of the Sultan. So the ruler of Girnar had forcibly taken the wife of his Kamdar, the minister agent, who schemed in secret for the downfall of his master. After the fall of the fort, the Raja embraced Islam and was enrolled in the services of the Sultan. The Sultan founded at the foot of the hill a new town called Mustafabad. So the ruler is basically Mahmud Begarha, and he founded the new town at the foothills of Mustafabad. He built many lofty buildings there and asked all his nobles to do the same. Thus, it became the second capital of Gujarat. The first capital is obviously Ahmedabad. The next is Mustafabad. Later in his reign, Mahmud sacked Dwarka on the ground. It harbored pirates who preyed on the pilgrim traffic to Mecca. The campaign was, however, also used to raise the famous Hindu temples there. So Mahmud Begara was the one who sacked Dwarka. The fort of Champaner was strategically located for the Sultan's plans of bringing Khandesh and Malwa under his control. The ruler, though a feudatory of Gujarat, had close relations with the Sultans of Malwa. Champaner fell in 1454 after the gallant Raja and his followers, despairing of help from any quarter, performed the Johar ceremony and fought to the last man. So the ruler of Malwa, so the rulers, though a feudatory of Gujarat, had close relations with the Sultan of Malwa. So this is for the fort of Champaner. Champaner fell in 1454 after the gallant Raja and his followers, despairing of help from any quarter, performed the Johar ceremony and fought to the last man. Mahmud constructed a new town called Mohammedabad near Champaner. He laid out many fine gardens there and made it his principal place of residence. Champaner is now in ruins, but the building which still attracts attention is the Jama Masjid. It has a covered courtyard and many Jain principles of architecture have been used in it. The stonework in the other buildings constructed during this period is so fine that it can only be compared to the works of goldsmiths. Mahmud Begara also had to deal with the Portuguese who were interfering with Gujarat's trade with the countries of West Asia. He joined hands with the ruler of Egypt to check the Portuguese naval power, but he was not successful. During the long and peaceful reign of Mahmud Begarha, trade and commerce prospered. He constructed many caravansarais and inns for the comfort of the travelers. The merchants were happy because roads were safe for traffic. Though Mahmud Begarha had never received a systematic education, he had gained considerable knowledge by his constant association with the learned men. Many works were translated from Arabic into Persian during his reign. His court poet was Udayaraja, who composed in Sanskrit. Mahmud Begarha had a striking appearance. He had a flowing beard which reached up to his waist, and his moustache was so long that he tied it over the head. According to a traveler Barbosa, Mahmud from his childhood had been nourished on some poison so that if a fly settled on his hand, it swelled and immediately lay dead. Mahmud was also famous for his voracious appetite. It is said that for breakfast he ate a cup of honey, a cup of butter, and 100 to 150 plantains. He ate 10 to 15 kilos of food a day, and we are told that the plates of meat patties, samosas, were placed on both sides of his pillow at night in case he felt hungry. Not just a normal foodie, he was something else. Under Mahmud Begarha, the Gujarat kingdom reached its maximum limit and emerged as one of the most powerful and well administered states in the country. Later on, it was powerful enough to pose a serious challenge to the Mughal ruler Humayun. Malwa. The state of Malwa was situated on the high plateau between the rivers of Narmada and Tapi. It commanded the trunk routes between Gujarat and northern India, as also between North and South India. As long as Malwa continued to be strong, it acted as a barrier to the ambitions of Gujarat, Mewar, the Bahmanis, and the Lodi Sultans of the Delhi. The geopolitical situation in North India was such that if any of the powerful states of the region could extend its control over Malwa, it would be well on its way to make a bid for the domination of the entire North India. During the 15th century, the kingdom of Malwa remained at the height of its glory. The capital was shifted from Dhar to Mandu, place which was highly defensible and which had a great deal of natural beauty. Here, the rulers of Marwa constructed a large number of buildings, the ruins of which are still impressive. Unlike the Gujarat style of architecture, Mandu architecture was massive and was made to look even more by using very lofty plinth for the buildings. The large scale use of colored and glazed tiles provided variety to the buildings. The best known among them are Jama Masjid, Hindola Mahal, and Jahaz Mahal. From the beginning, the kingdom of Malwa was torn by internal dissensions. The struggle for succession between different contenders to the throne was accompanied by fighting between different groups of nobles for power and profit. The neighboring states of Gujarat and Mewar were always ready to take advantage of this factionalism for their own purposes. One of the early rulers of Malwa, Husang Shah, adopted a broad policy of religious toleration. Many Rajputs were encouraged to settle in Malwa. Thus, two of the elder brothers of Rana Mokal of Mewar were granted Jagirs in Malwa. From the inscription of the Lalitpur temple, which was built during this period, it appears that no restrictions were placed on the construction of temples. Husang Shah extended his patronage to the Jains, who were the principal merchants and bankers of the area. Thus, Nardev Soni, a successful merchant, was the treasurer of Hosang Shah and was one of his advisors. However, all the rulers of Malwa were not equally tolerant. Mahmud Khalji, from 1436 to 69, who is considered the most powerful of the Malwa rulers, destroyed many temples during his struggle with Rana Kumbha of Mewar and with the neighboring Hindu Rajas. It was reprehensible and a setback from the policy of broad religious toleration which had gradually developed under the Delhi Sultanate. However, it was not part of any policy of general destruction of Hindu temples. Mahmud Khalji was a restless and ambitious monarch. He fought with most of his neighbors, the rulers of Gujarat, the Rajas of Gondwana and Orissa, the Bahmani Sultans, and even the Sultans of Delhi. However, his energies were principally devoted to overrunning the South Rajputana and trying to subdue Mewar. So Malwa was a kingdom which was strategically located and it had obviously many rivals from all of its frontiers. So the main contenders for Malwa were Gujarat, Mewar and the Lodhis. It was said that the one who controlled Malwa will be the one who would rule the entire North India because Malwa was a region which controlled the trunk routes for north to south and east to west. So we've seen two major rulers in Malwa. One is Hosang Shah and second is Mahmud Khalji. Mahmud Shah had a very religious, tolerant policy. However, Khalji was totally opposite of it, and we could see that there have been many expeditions from different regions in order to gain control of Malwa. It's a large chapter, and we'll continue our reading of it in the next video. Till then, see ya. Bye.